You have to understand, when I improvise a speech, I don't think about how I say something or what I say.
About Donald Trump, because you guys both hosted The Apprentice. You don't necessarily see eye to eye on most things.
In a moment that left jaws on the floor and social media in flames, Arnold Schwarzenegger did what no one saw coming. He went scorched earth on Donald Trump, and he did it live, with cameras rolling, in front of an audience that couldn't believe what they were hearing. The former California governor, Hollywood icon, and lifelong Republican didn't hold back. But what really set the internet ablaze was the phrase that echoed louder than anything else he said. "Deport your illegal son, Barron." Make sure to like the video. Believe it or not, more than 83% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So did you subscribe already? Great, thank you so much for your support. Now back to the video. The comment wasn't just a throwaway insult. It was a deliberate shot, fired with precision, and aimed straight at the heart of Trump's decades-long immigration rhetoric. Schwarzenegger, who himself immigrated legally to the United States from Austria, has long sparred with Trump, both politically and personally.
Yes, of course.
Of course, this is a very sensitive subject to me, because when I came over to this country, I was living in fear of being deported.
But this moment marked a new low, or a new high, depending on which side you're on. The confrontation came during a heated debate on live television, where Trump had unexpectedly called into a town hall-style segment hosted by a conservative network attempting to broker unity between divided factions of the Republican base. Schwarzenegger had been invited to talk policy, leadership, and the future of the party. But when Trump's voice suddenly entered the conversation, everything changed. At first, the tone was tense but restrained. Trump began by criticizing Schwarzenegger's tenure as governor, mocking his poll numbers, and jabbing at his film career. But Schwarzenegger remained composed until Trump crossed the line, bringing up immigration and referring to undocumented children as anchor babies who shouldn't even be here. That's when Arnold leaned in. His voice dropped, his stare hardened, and then, with a sharp inhale, he delivered the blow. "You want to talk about who belongs in this country?" he said. "You want to talk about illegal children? Then maybe we should talk about your son, Barron. You spent 4 years terrorizing immigrant families, calling children criminals and building a wall. But now you want sympathy? Deport your illegal son, Donald."
And all that, but it is kind of like a threat to democracy and a threat of what happens to people when they're lied to.
The room fell dead silent. Gasps, followed by stunned expressions, filled the screen. Even the host didn't know what to say. Trump, apparently taken off guard, went quiet for a beat before angrily barking back, "You're sick! Don't talk about my family like that!" But Schwarzenegger didn't flinch. "I will talk about hypocrisy," he shot back. "You built your brand on fear, on division, on treating immigrants like invaders. But when it comes to your family, suddenly it's different?"
Well, first of all, you have to understand, when I improvise a speech, I don't think about how I say something or what I say.
It was a surreal, explosive exchange, and the clip, mere seconds long, went viral within minutes. The hashtag #DeportBarron was trending worldwide, sparking fierce debate, heated commentary, and widespread condemnation from Trump supporters. But just as many, if not more, hailed Arnold as a truth-teller, finally giving voice to the frustration millions had felt over years of Trump's immigration policies. Of course, the claim that Barron Trump is illegal has no legal basis. Barron, born in New York City in 2006, is a U.S. citizen. But that wasn't the point. Schwarzenegger wasn't making a legal argument. He was making a moral one, highlighting the cruelty and double standards of a system that dehumanized children for political gain while shielding its own elite families from consequence. And coming from Arnold, a man who famously arrived in America with a thick accent and a dream, the words hit even harder. This was a man who embodied the American dream, who built a life from nothing, and who saw the very policies that once welcomed him now being weaponized against others. Later, in a follow-up interview, Schwarzenegger clarified his remarks. "Of course, Barron is a citizen. My point was about hypocrisy. When you dehumanize kids at the border, when you rip families apart, when you treat children like bargaining chips. Don't expect a free pass just because it's your family. Every child deserves dignity, not just yours. The reaction from the Trump camp was swift and furious. A spokesperson called Schwarzenegger's remarks vile, disgusting, and beneath even Hollywood standards. Melania Trump reportedly demanded a public apology, and Trump himself posted an all-caps tirade on Truth Social, calling Arnold a has-been actor, a failing nobody, and curiously, a rhino Terminator with no soul.
Arnold, I have a great idea. Why don't we switch jobs? You take over TV because you're such an expert in ratings.
But Arnold didn't back down. In fact, he doubled down. I've fought real monsters, he said in a second appearance. I'm not afraid of a fake one in a red tie. If you want to lead this country again, start by treating people like human beings, not statistics, not slogans, real people.
About Donald Trump because you guys both hosted The Apprentice. You don't necessarily see eye to eye on most things.
The political fallout has been immediate. Within hours, pundits on both sides were dissecting the exchange. CNN aired the clip every 30 minutes. Fox News called it shameful, but couldn't stop replaying it. Even international outlets like the BBC and Al Jazeera ran the story on their front pages. But perhaps most telling was the response from within the Republican Party. A growing number of moderate conservatives began issuing carefully worded statements, criticizing Trump's tone on immigration and urging the party to return to compassion. Privately, many said they were glad Schwarzenegger said what others had only whispered behind closed doors. This wasn't just a clash of personalities. It was a philosophical rupture, a battle for the soul of the party. On one side, Trump, with his iron grip on the MAGA base, still running on fear, slogans, and walls. On the other, Schwarzenegger, invoking a more inclusive, future-facing conservatism that doesn't view immigrants as enemies. And then there's the BARRON angle. The use of his name, long considered off-limits in political discourse, has triggered debate about whether children of public figures should be shielded or fair game. Some critics argue Arnold crossed the line. Others say the line was already obliterated by Trump himself, who used migrant children as props in political rallies and whose policies resulted in the separation of thousands of families. This isn't about a kid, said one political analyst. It's about a mirror. Arnold held one up to Trump's face, and the reflection wasn't pretty. Schwarzenegger's history with Trump is long and bitter. Their rivalry began when Arnold took over as host of The Apprentice after Trump's departure. Trump mocked his ratings.
They hired a big movie star, Arnold Schwarzenegger, to take my place. And we know how that turned out.
Arnold fired back with ethics. Over the years, they exchanged jabs, sometimes personal, sometimes political, but it always simmered beneath the surface. This moment, however, boiled over. In fact, some insiders believe the confrontation was inevitable. Arnold had grown increasingly frustrated with Trump's resurgence and whispers of another White House run.
I mean, people really are starving for something positive. There's just so much on social media and online out there that is negative. But the Democrats and the Republicans, both of the parties, have no interest in solving this problem because they use that to raise money.
He sees it as a betrayal of everything he believes conservatism should stand for. One close source said, Arnold had enough, and he wasn't going to stay silent anymore. Whether the moment proves to be a political turning point remains to be seen. But what's clear is that Schwarzenegger's words have cracked something open. A public reckoning, a moral debate, a question that goes beyond legality and into something deeper. What kind of country we want to be, and who gets to claim its promise. For now, the phrase continues to echo across social media, cable news, and the dinner tables of a divided nation. Deport your illegal son wasn't meant literally. It was meant to shock, to provoke, to force a conversation. And on that front, it succeeded. Because in a media landscape saturated with noise, it's rare for a single sentence to cut through. But Arnold did it. He fired a verbal missile that can't be unfired.
President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever.
And whether you love him or loathe him, one thing is certain. He's not backing down. Not from Trump, not from hypocrisy, not from the fight.